Join us now to talk about how the president has been handling Afghanistan over the past months and past days and past hours is Congresswoman Lisa McClain of the 10th District. Good morning, Congresswoman. How are you?
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's very difficult to watch what's happening in Afghanistan. It just seems, I have no military background, but it just seems very obvious to me that this didn't have to happen, that we could have gotten people out of the country that we needed to get out before the military left while we still had control there, instead of getting the military out and let everybody else just fend for themselves, thousands of Americans. And then you have your TV on and you're watching who the Taliban is and how they rule and how vicious and violent they are. And, you look to the president for leadership, and I just didn't see a lot of it in the ABC News interview he did, and it really bothers me as a reporter to watch him walk away and not take questions, to say, oh, I'm here to talk about a booster shot. I'm not talking about Afghanistan. But I wanted to get your take on it. Nobody cares what I think. What do you think?
Well, that's not true. I'm in the same boat. I mean, this is a catastrophic failure that we're dealing with right now in Afghanistan. But the president's lack of leadership and not addressing any questions is typical. I mean, we have seen this repeatedly for the past 8 months. We don't deal with the crisis at the border. We don't deal with defunding police. What would make us believe that our president, Joe Biden, is actually going to deal with a relevant issue? He's not going to deal with it. This should not come as a surprise. And I realize I'm not the president of the United States, but I did lead a sales force at a rather large company. And leadership needs to step up in times of crisis. That's your job. That's what the American people are looking for from this president. Not to put his head in the sand and his tail between his legs and run away. Leadership, as the leader of the free world, you have to lead. You owe it. If you have a right to be president of the United States, you have a duty and an obligation to lead and to take care of America. Period. End of conversation. And if you can't do that, perhaps you should step aside and let somebody else who actually can lead and can answer some questions take the wheel.
Yeah, the president's numbers on the pandemic have generally been pretty decent, pretty good. His numbers at the border have been pretty bad. I haven't seen any numbers on Afghanistan yet because it's just happening, but we know they're going to be horrible because even CNN and MSNBC are saying that the president blew it in Afghanistan. When all sides of the media are agreeing, we almost never see that. But they tend to agree right now that this was botched terribly, the execution of what took place in Afghanistan. And then so the president comes out to speak, and all anyone is talking about is this crazy crisis in Afghanistan, how thousands of people, Americans, got left behind in a country that we now have to hope that the Taliban, of all organizations, of groups, governments, will somehow allow Americans to come home without incident. And the president steps up to a podium and he talks about the pandemic. And I'm not saying the pandemic's not important and the booster shot's not important. It is, but to be in the middle of a crisis and then to stand up and try and talk about something that is more popular for you and to completely avoid the issue of the day. And it's not just some issue. It's not like it's just some other thing that people wanted to talk to the president about. This is ongoing right now, an absolute crisis to try and free American citizens from Afghanistan. I mean,
and imagine if you were one of the families of one of those people in Afghanistan. Imagine your rage. I mean, listen, I sit on the House Armed Services Committee, and we have been asking for months for a plan. What is your plan? This administration has not shared a single detail about their plan. However, they did tell us they do have a plan. Don't worry, we have it under control. Well, one of two things happened. Either they lied, this administration flat out lied, and they didn't have a plan, or, as CNN said today, they're incompetent. At the end of the day, we owe it to the men and women who put their lives on the line to get them home safely. And we're not doing that. And if you don't think the rest of the world is watching, you are gravely mistaken, because all eyes are on this right now. It's time for leadership. It's time for some courage. It's time to make some tough decisions. And you have to answer to the American people. At the end of the day, let's not forget who the president works for. He was elected by the American people. That is his job, his duty, and his obligation to respond, react, and lead for the American people.
So in the one interview he did with ABC's George Stephanopoulos, Stephanopoulos asked the president, could this have been handled better in any way? And the president said, no, I don't think it could have been handled in a way that we're going to go back in hindsight and look at. But the idea that somehow there was a way to have gotten out without chaos ensuing, I don't know how that happens. That was the president's response. What did you think when you saw that or heard that?
Pathetic. In one word, pathetic. This is the best you have, Mr. President? I got an easy one. How about get our American people out before we do a drawdown? I got an idea. How about not just wake up one morning and the Air Force base in Bagram is empty? I think we could have done a lot of things better. I am hard pressed to believe that this is the best we have. And if that's what our president thinks is this is the best we have, perhaps, again, I'm going to say it, it's time for him to step aside and get somebody in there who actually can get a plan together to put America first.
I was talking with Congressman Peter Meyer, and he said that the president was warned that this was going to happen. He was told months ago that this was going to happen if they pulled the troops out first. How can the president now sit down on ABC and say, I don't know how that happens. I don't know a way to do this. I mean, he had experts that were telling him exactly how to do it.
Dementia? I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea, because we've heard the same briefs, and Peter Meyer is spot on. We have been warned for months that this would happen. And all of a sudden he forgets. I don't have another explanation. Dementia.
What does the president need to do today? Is he going to come out and talk, or is he done? Or that interview was it, you think?
I have no idea what the president's going to do. I would tell you what I believe he should do is I hope he's been working around the clock tirelessly to figure out a way on how to get our men and women, our troops out of there, our civilians out of there, and the Afghans who have worked side by side to help and support us. I hope that's what he's been working on tirelessly, and I hope he's got about 2 hours of sleep maybe. And I hope he doesn't rest till he figures out a plan on how to get that our troops and our men and women out of there and out of there safely. But he's got another couple problems on his hands. How are we going to conduct counterterrorism in Afghanistan? How are we going to fight against that? How are we going to prevent terrorist organizations from regrouping? And the biggest thing I hope he's thinking about right now, and if he needs some help, I'm happy to help him with it. How are we going to protect our homeland from terrorism? Because let's not forget, our southern border is wide open.
Congresswoman Lisa McClain, 10th District, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.